So what you're telling me is I don't have to be perfect? Hey, I'm Chuck. I'm an educator with a new job this year and a new commute, and thus this new podcast, me filling my time with the extra time in the car, and you, dear listener, right along shotgun as I talk to myself. So, as I have mentioned last couple episodes, I am taking some classes now online, Northwest Missouri State, in a program for education leadership. And I don't know if this is normal, but I'm not recovering. I was deeply consumed with maintaining the 100% that I had in class. So this is a 7-week class, and we just started at week 6 today, and all the way through week 4 at 100% on all of my assignments, between both of my classes I was taking actually. And then this past week, week 5, there was kind of a lot to do, and also I had 2 nights of parent-teacher conferences and a night of chaperoning a student conference with my church, and a night of going to my daughter's play on Saturday. Super full week, and so I was struggling to get assignments done. So I was taking this quiz at 11:30 on Wednesday night, and it was a pretty straightforward quiz. All we had to do was just take this document that the instructor gave us and read it to answer the questions. But it was written in such a way that I was having a hard time kind of deducing it exactly at 11:30 at night, and so I missed the wording on one of the 20 questions, and I got a 19 out of 20 instead of a 20 out of 20, and so now I only have a 99.7 in this course instead of 100. But as I had already told myself before I even started classes, and I told my wife this also, I have the tendency to strive to get 100% on every single assignment that I do in school. This wasn't really a thing that I did in undergrad. This wasn't a thing I really did when I was a student in high school either, but as an adult student, in my master's and then my gifted certification, and then now my this specialist degree I'm working towards, I just really want to do really well, and what that turns into is me kind of overdoing assignments. I don't know, I'm following the rubrics, which is one difference between me as a student now as an adult and what I did when I was a teenager or an undergraduate, was I didn't fully know how to play the college game. And maybe graduate courses are taught slightly different, but it seems to me they're very straightforward. Here is the lecture material. Here's the assignment. Here's the rubric that we're grading on it. Make sure you do all this stuff. And so, if they tell you exactly what they're going to score you on a paper, and they tell you exactly what you have to do to get an A, then it should be very straightforward to get an A. There is still a little bit of wiggle room between what the ceiling actually is for this assignment and to get an A, to get 100 even, really. That is sadly what I'm going for, is 100%, not even just A. And so I think there is some room here within my effort where I could be doing slightly less and still getting 100%, but I don't know what that bar is, and my desire to make sure that I get 100% is keeping me from even trying to figure that out, even trying to play that game of, if I do a little bit less here, will I still get 100? And I talked about doing that with some of my friends before I started classes, I talked about this struggle that I have, but I haven't successfully yet done it. I just haven't been able to do an assignment in a way that wasn't what I thought was my best work, because I had the time to do it. So why not do the best you can if you have the time to do it? But so we ran into this thing this week where I didn't really have the time that I needed to do the ultimate best job that I thought I could do. So the very good news for myself is I cannot get 100 now. So I don't have to worry about maintaining 100. What this should do is give me some freedom to not overdo an assignment for the next 2 weeks, and start playing the game of doing just enough to keep the A. That's still a little bit dicey, and I would always tell my students this: you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and so you do need that padding. Like, just because you have a 90% or a 93, whatever your A is now, doesn't mean you're going to continue to do that well. And so, if at all possible, you need to keep your padding in there in case something happens in the future. So, in theory, the best thing happened to me last week. I didn't get 100 on something, and so I can take that pressure off myself to get 100 in this class, and hopefully turn down my stress level a tiny bit on these courses. That being said, I still need to get that A, because every single graduate course I've taken over 45 hours now, I've always gotten an A. That sounds like a bragging. I'm really just telling you that I'm ridiculous, and I'm shooting for goals that I don't know that they really matter. But every time I fill out like an application or a resume or whatever, when I put my graduate GPA, I don't even have to calculate it, because I just re-look it up, because I know it's 4.0. And so, to even save my future me time in the future, when I'm filling out information about my next program, I don't want to have to make sure that I got a 3.8 or whatever. I just want to be able to know that I put a 4.0. So I still do have that level going on for me, but truthfully, with only 2 weeks less in these classes, there's not a ton of work left to do, and so there's only so much I could drop even if I did nothing else left. But that's what's going on with me. Every time I have students that stress out about not getting A's, I tell them that it's okay, but know also that I understand your feelings, and at the same time, I need to tell you, and I need to tell myself, that it's okay if you don't get an A. It's okay. It's okay if you're not perfect. It's okay. And if that's you today, it's okay if you're not perfect. Whatever pressure you're putting on yourself, give yourself freedom and grace to not be perfect. And just do the best you can. That's all I got to say for today. Thanks for driving along with me on today's Drive Time Diary. Thank you always for joining. And if you want to bring somebody else in for the carpool, please share this podcast and let them in on the drive. You can share on Spotify. You can share on... You can't really share on Spotify. You can get a Spotify share link, though. You can share on Instagram. You can share on the X. You can share on Facebook. You can share with text messages or emails or word of mouth. Let me know what you think, too, about your own anxiety, neuroses. What do you think about my ridiculous goal to get 100 and why I'm ridiculous? Please send me those messages on voice message with Spotify. I still have not gotten one of those. If I could get one of those, it'd make my week. Or a message on the X at Chuck C. Baker. Instagram, you can get me at Mr. C. Baker for Math, or at Drive Time Diary, or on Facebook, you know my name, Chuck Baker. And in real life, or text message, or phone call. I love hearing from you, and I love talking about teaching. And until then, drive safe.